Mira Business FM. The sound of success.
Mira Business FM, this is The Morning Drive with me, Elliott. Good morning, welcome. If you're with us on the website, wherever you're with us, you are very welcome. MiraBusiness.fm is our web page. You can find us there across socials, YouTube, etc. You'll find Mira Business FM podcasts. If you do download one, we appreciate that wherever you find them. There's loads and loads of stuff there and a real variety of issues as well. The mind boggles at times. And then, of course, you can get in touch. info@mira.fm and also whatsapp.mira.fm. The number 522-789-567. Nice and easy to remember. This morning, where are we? Thursday, December the 4th. So we're well into or fast approaching the festive season, the end of the year. As soon as the first Christmas lights go up, something remarkable happens in the creative world, in the media world. Music charts start filling up with familiar festive hits. We hear them again, and for some reason we love them again, more and more each year. Perhaps most famously is Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, which re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 earlier than ever before. It reappeared at number 31 on the chart dated November the 15th. Now, this is not just holiday nostalgia, or we love that song, we want it back. It is a serious moneymaker. The song spent a total of 18 weeks at number one on the Hot 100 in the United States and other territories across multiple holiday seasons. It ranks among the longest-running chart toppers in Billboard history. That's one side of where we're headed this morning. Now, as streaming platforms roll out a wave of Christmas movies, artists release holiday albums, even concert films get a seasonal twist. It becomes clear this is a moment when nostalgia, culture, and commerce kind of collide. Now, with such a powerful track record behind festive content, it's no wonder that many in the creative industry treat Christmas as one of the most lucrative times of the year. That much we know. Now, what does this mean for music, for streaming, for the media at large? We're joined once again today by someone who knows the business side of creativity maybe better than most. Dr. David Tully, head of media at Middlesex University in Dubai, and he's here. Morning to you, David.
Good morning. Thank you for that beautiful intro.
Well, I have to kind of set the scene here, but it's a remarkable thing. Really, the big picture of all of this is why is Christmas, the festive period, the holidays, whatever you want to call it, such a media goldmine? But it's become, hasn't it, a really dominant, reliable revenue season for the creative industries. We're well into that season now. Initial thoughts?
Well, it seems to be, the oddest thing is that it seems to be becoming that more and more. And Christmas, I don't think I'm telling you anything you don't know when I say Christmas has been around for a long time.
Yeah, I've heard.
It didn't just start a couple of years ago. And yet it seems that a couple of years ago, the Christmas media blitz, for lack of a better term, started, a barrage. Because when I was a kid, there were certain Christmas classics, and people would love them. And when a certain time of year came around, you listened to Bing Crosby singing White Christmas, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
And you watch certain Christmas movies, old Christmas shows like Charlie Brown and the Grinch on TV.
Yep.
And it was a ritual because they'd only be shown at certain times. And you didn't have control over the media. But the odd thing is now that people have so much more control over the media, over what they watch and listen to and when they do it, now there is a flood of new material. And I think it's a barometer of where media is at, this generating of content, that there's a long tradition of generating content. It actually goes back to, I know people don't want a history lesson here. It's supposed to be a business show, but I was thinking about it when you asked me to be on the show.
We're going to get one.
Yeah, just sit back. There's a great book written about 20 years ago called The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Right.
It was also made into a film about 5 years ago. And it's about Charles Dickens writing the book A Christmas Carol. And in the very act of writing that book, to save his career, which was going down the toilet at that time, he'd had a couple of hits and then a big bomb. And he, in a flurry in November, he cranked out this Christmas book that pretty much came out of nowhere. There weren't Christmas traditions the way he said. He more or less created them. And he created this mania about Christmas because in fact, many of his friends at the time said, don't put this book out. It's going to bomb. Christmas is irrelevant. Nobody cares about it. He put it out. it was, even in its time, a big hit. Many classics take a long time to catch on. It was a big hit then. And it was such a big hit that every year after that, for about 10 years, he put out a Christmas book. And he would at least put out a Christmas story. He started a Christmas media industry. And it grew from Dickens writing A Christmas Carol, which is, in a way, the big bang of Christmas media.
I had no idea. I've never looked at it that way. So, in theory, when Christmas decorations arrive in stores in October, which is wrong, we should blame Charles Dickens.
You should curse you, Charles Dickens, for what you have done.
And Mariah Carey is his fault also.
He has a lot to answer for.
Wow.
But if you look at the history, there is before A Christmas Carol and after A Christmas Carol in terms of people generating new product, not enacting rituals, because of course there's a strong mythic, and by mythic I'm not saying false, I'm saying that stories that have they appeal to something deep in the human soul, and are reenacted on a regular basis. There's that mythic quality, but Christmas as this sort of utopian ritual, cultural ritual every year that spills over into, for lack of a better word, crass media, we got him to blame.
Okay, so from a media business perspective then, let me ask you this. What makes holiday content so evergreen? Is it just that? It's ritual, and why is it so continually profitable?
Well, I mean, I sounded very negative saying crass and it's cynical, but Christmas is great. Who doesn't like Christmas? It's utopian, everybody coming together, you're honoring the best in people, being kind and generous, coming together with family. There's really nothing negative about it. I think it's odder that people took so long to notice, hey, we can make a fortune out of this. It's such a positive thing.
All right. So no, it is a good time. The idea of it, whether you're whatever faith that you may follow, it does. That's not the point of this discussion. It's just the fact that it does. There's nothing wrong with getting together, having a meal, offering a couple of gifts. That's really kind of the point in many ways
and
for many people.
And it is regardless of faith. That has to be understood too. There's some. I mean, for instance, the Roman Saturnalia was the exact same time of year, the feast of the unconquered sun. Mm-hmm. They all got together to celebrate. Yay, days are getting longer again. So it's that time of year brings everyone together.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. And New Year is a week later, so timing-wise, I understand that. It's kind of like all content these days. The thirst for content is kind of never-ending, I think. And I blame Charlie Bit My Finger. Do you remember that YouTube video of the little boy and the baby bit his older brother's finger? I blame them for that, as sweet as that was. But I guess festive holidays are particularly susceptible to commercial exploitation, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Well, again, to be cynical about the media, the creative media, anything that appeals to human emotion is ripe for exploitation to make a profit. And since Christmas is a very emotional time, it is also the time of the highest suicide rate in the world, too, to bring it down for a second. It's obviously intense emotions around that time of year.
Yeah.
Why that is probably outside the
it's not within our remit today, but it makes a really good point, actually, because it is a time of intense emotions, and intense emotions are what advertisers need to be appealing to. So you can see the correlation.
And so in that way, I think it makes perfect sense. These intense emotions, mostly good. And those who are sad want to feel good, so they turn to songs, they turn to movies and TV shows, especially things from an innocent childhood. That is where people seem to want to return to at this time of year. Because children love Christmas, there's a time of wonder. They want to regain that sense of wonder. And think of Dickens tapped into that perfectly with Christmas Carol. It's about redemption and renewal, which is what the festival has always been about. And that's what that story is about his redemption and his renewal. And every Christmas artifact that's followed in its wake is pretty much tapped into that same vibe and tried to mine that same gold vein.
It's every story we tell, David. Redemption and renewal is the soul of the human core, isn't it?
It is. I mean, that's the book that I just finished writing, which is about story and what story is. And I start the book with a list of the 101 stories you should know before you die.
Right.
And one of them on there is A Christmas Carol, because it is every story you ever knew, but Dickens, who wrote many, many, many stories, and more ambitious, more social tapestry like Bleak House, but in A Christmas Carol, he nailed it exactly, succinctly. And that's the one of all Dickens stories that's still made into movies every year.
Yeah,
last year there was a Will Ferrell Netflix musical based on it. It was sort of a sequel because he played Marley's ghost. He's making good now, but I just read that somebody else I can't remember who it is. Oh, I know who it is. The guy who just did the Nosferatu remake is doing this big budget Christmas Carol remake, and I was thinking, if there's one thing the world doesn't need, it's another movie version of A Christmas Carol.
Well, you say that, but I guess we don't really know what we need, because it could be great. I mean, who knows? The thing is, look, we're bombarded by advertising for months leading up to the end of the year, the festive period. The underlying goal is to associate emotions, we're back there again, like, joy, nostalgia, with buying stuff. Food Network is 100% Christmas programming from November the 1st. Okay, that's just you put it on and it's tinsel and lights twinkling and Christmas recipes. So overconsumption is kind of positively encouraged. That's one of the themes of the season. It's fine, nothing like a festive dinner or two. What gets me, and I can never kind of get to grips with this, is I'm a jaded, grumpy old man. Freely admit that, and that's fine. But it starts to wear a bit, doesn't it? But we're kind of all up for it again. The renewal period, it comes around 10 or 11 months later, and we're like, oh, we're feet first in. What is it about us what is it about Christmas and the festive period that does that?
People like rituals. Everybody likes rituals. You've got your own rituals about getting out of bed. And this is a ritual where everybody comes together for a positive thing.
Right.
People love it. Other holidays have it to a certain degree, but none of them have that mass appeal, for lack of a better term, that Christmas has. Across faiths, even, as we talked about.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just put this to you quickly. You're from the United States. You're a New Yorker. You've just had Thanksgiving.
Yes, that was a good one too.
Well, hopefully it was, and happy Thanksgiving belatedly. But which would you choose of the two? Because they're
I love them both. For me, as a kid, Thanksgiving was the kickoff. Once the Thanksgiving meal was over, and we loved that because all my cousins came, big family, like 40 or 50 people getting together. It was a biggie, and that when you knew that was over, the Christmas season had begun. And so for the next month, it was just, you were all in. And everything was gravy.
So that's
snow would start falling.
And that's the starter's pistol. And
exactly, you're off. And it's a ritual. And so I think your question, though, was asking which one was better. And for me, they're one uber holiday, basically.
Okay.
But I think it brings back to my point that nothing else, 4th of July, I loved Halloween too, I loved all those holidays, but nothing else quite gets people excited. Generally, I'm not just talking about myself, generally people as Christmas. And so I think the more interesting phenomenon from the business perspective is why now there is such a glut of holiday product where there was not before. Because like I said, when we started talking, White Christmas, Bing Crosby. I'm old, but that's a lot older than me. Even when I was a kid, that was very old. You don't really hear White Christmas anymore, but that's been replaced by Mariah Carey. But when I was a kid, that was the one that you heard over and over. It was also the biggest selling single of all time, as late as the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, no, well, that's true. I'm not sure. I think you do hear that. You don't hear it as much, I'll grant you that. But I still believe, and I still think, if that comes on, young and old know the words.
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
true.
That's kind of the mark. But I take your point. Well, let's talk about Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You," for example. It resurfaces in the notes every December. That's complete nonsense. It's about every October that starts to be played. Certainly November. What is it, do you think, if we can analyze this for a moment, what makes a festive song, a Christmas song, so commercially durable?
Oh, that's a good question. Also, an interesting thing, I looked into this I did my homework too. I looked into this, and I didn't realize it was such an old song. It came out in 1994, and apparently wasn't that big when it first came out. It slowly grew in popularity to become the dominant Christmas song. I didn't realize that. I thought it had just burst on the scene a few years ago and was immediately embraced by everybody.
31 years ago.
And White Christmas was a similar phenomenon that Irving Berlin wrote it for a movie. It wasn't expected to be the big hit of the movie, but it took off during World War II and slowly got more and more popular over the years, so that by the 80s and 90s, 50 years later, it was these songs. So they both had this track of going from being kind of obscure, not exactly obscure, but not as big. And over the years, with each successive Christmas, more and more people identified the song with Christmas.
Okay.
And it became the Christmas song. So why White Christmas? I think at that time it was sentimental. It was yearning for home and things people used to know. Maybe people don't want it anymore because of global warming. There aren't as many White Christmases. It's just depressing.
Could be.
I'm dreaming of White Christmas too, but I'm probably not going to get it too often. And so that's probably one reason that's a downer. But All I Want for Christmas is not so sentimental. It's more danceable. It's more poppy.
Yeah, for sure.
I think both of them have a pretty melody. You're not going to get a atonal Christmas hit, probably.
No, that's true.
A pretty melody, but I think in this day and age, you're going to want it to be a bit more sprightly and fast than Irving Berlin was going to deliver.
Well, that's interesting because All I Want for Christmas is You is a fast song, 150 or so beats a minute. That's a fair old pace. So
yes.
it kind of matches the time of year, doesn't it? In that it's upbeat. And
the second biggest song is Last Christmas by George Michael, which is also very old. I didn't realize, 84.
84, yeah.
But now, as of this year, it is number 2. Mariah Carey is number 1. It's a slower ballad, but still it's got the boom, 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 the synthesizer
jaunty.
going to keep you.
It's
It is jaunty.
There's
I
also
think you
the
got to be
video.
jaunty.
Jaunty is key. Okay,
Yes.
so we've nailed it. So all we need to do is
Write
get
a jaunty song.
Writing chops together.
We'll record it after the show.
Maybe. You can sing it. I'll follow. The other thing about this is Mariah Carey co-wrote All I Want for Christmas Is You. And I think a lot of people see her as, a pop princess. But, she wrote lots and lots of her material with a songwriting partner back in the day. And it's the money. I wanted to put this to you. It's estimated it rakes in $2.5–3 million annually. It's done that since 1994, so for 31 years. So if you think of that in terms, just do the maths very quickly in your head, it's over $100 million in royalties that song has brought in.
Going into Mariah Carey's pocket.
Much of it, I guess it's a co-write. So, there's 50 million or so right there. I don't know how they've divvied it up. But this was somebody at that point, right at the start of her career. This is on her 4th album. She only really came to prominence in 1990, just 4 years before that. So it's a remarkable story.
If you write something good, then you're set, and that's what's key. I didn't realize that. I thought she only sang it. So the fact that she wrote it means yes, she is getting the bulk of that money.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Mariah Carey. We're going to be hearing that a lot. But I guess the key is, and you pointed to this just now. Whatever music you like, and music is a very tribal thing. I hold certain things very dear, and I'm quite happy to have a pop at people that like things that I don't like. That's how we operate. But, a good song is a good song. And whenever I think of Mariah Carey's output, I don't hold her in the highest esteem. But that's a great song. It's a great pop song.
Exactly. You don't bring the same demands to a Mariah Carey song that you're going to bring to a Bob Dylan song, nor should you. They're doing very different things. I like that word tribal. Tribal's better. I used the word mythic earlier, and the problem with mythic is I'm not meaning it to mean false or fictional, which it often is. Yeah. Tribal is better. A lot of people coming together. The holiday is tribal. And the music that goes with it is also tribal. But I also know what you mean, that there's different tribes for music. But it's a good song. And that is what differentiates it from that mountain of terrible Christmas music that's out there. And terrible Christmas movies.
Well, we're going to come to Christmas movies in a minute, actually. But if you look at the way Christmas music works, I don't know what the if there is a formula, but I guess there must be. I mean, I suppose you need sleigh bells on a great Christmas song. I'm thinking of Bruce Springsteen's, Santa Claus Coming to Town, the sleigh bells in that. But another great song, Delivered. Maybe you need to be a little bit overly syrupy in sentiment. I don't.
Well, one of the great Christmas songs is the Pogues' Fairy Tale of New York, which gets a lot of, it's always, when I just put on a Spotify Christmas list, it's always on there, no matter what the list is.
Yeah.
And it is sentimental, but because he delivers it in a very non-sentimental way, that's what puts it over, I think.
Well, Shane MacGowan was a poet as well, obviously. And there is no NYPD choir, apparently. Which really disappoints me, but that he made up.
I always assumed it was just drunk cops at the station when he was in the lockup, but...
Well, it could be, with a big mound of donuts.
You visualize this more meticulously than I have.
I've thought about donuts a lot recently. Look, let me ask you a slightly more serious question. Do you think artists today are more intentional when it comes to writing songs for the festive season? Yeah, because if you do, we've just outlined what Mariah Carey's done there in terms of long-term royalties, 31 years of a couple of $1 million a year for not having to lift a finger is a nice thing to happen.
It is. It's very nice.
Are artists more intentional today?
Well, are the artists more intentional?
Maybe
I
more.
think if you're a craftsman and you've mastered your craft, whether it's writing a song or building a bookshelf, and you discover that there's a certain market, you're going to develop objects. What's the blanket on the word? You're going to develop pieces for that market. And if you know that every Christmas people are going to want songs specifically about that tribal ritual, then you'd be an idiot not to do it. I think songwriters have probably always tried to write Christmas songs. It's the glut of them that makes things different now, that the media machine has targeted in a more ferocious way. Like when I was a kid, there were, as I talked about, there were Christmas classics. Rarely was there anything new for Christmas when I was a kid. A new Christmas song, a new Christmas movie. It was very rare.
Yeah, I feel like that as well.
And so you watched the old stuff, and that was part of the charm of it. Oh, this time of year has come around again. We watch this thing again. Now, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead. You said we'll get to movies in a minute, but Netflix will flood you with new Christmas movies every Christmas. So there's no time to watch those and watch the beloved old classics, whatever they might be.
I've got the list.
So the machine is treating it differently. I think the artists have always treated it the same, at least until since Charles Dickens woke them up to, there's something there.
Once again, Dickens comes back. So how do Christmas albums? Because one of the things that in recent times, who am I thinking of? Michael Bublé, his Christmas album, which must be. It's got to be 10 years ago. Maybe it's more than that. I don't know. But that's a perennial
also
favorite.
A staple on any Spotify list.
Absolutely. So it is.
If we're having a Christmas party, I just put on Christmas jazz or Christmas whatever the Christmas blank is. Michael Bublé will turn up.
Yeah, it is. So how does making an album, making a real thing of, gathering together Christmas classics, how does that factor into an artist's kind of broader, I suppose? And Michael Bublé is a really good example of this. His kind of, an artist's branding and strategy to bring the coins in.
He was uniquely suited to it because he's in that Sinatra tradition of what Sinatra called the saloon singers, the crooners.
Absolutely, yeah.
And luckily for them, there was an initial boom of Christmas music in the 40s and 50s. You think about all the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, Nat King Cole's Christmas song, Jingle Bell Rock.
Yep.
They all, the Phil Spector Christmas album. They all come from the 40s, 50s, into the early 60s, before the Beatles changed everything for pop music.
Yeah.
After the Beatles changed everything for pop music, Christmas fell out of favor for a long time. So that's another interesting phenomenon to consider, that in the Tin Pan Alley jazz era, Christmas was big business, and you get all those songs from that era. And then the Beatles, Dylan, the Rolling Stones come along, they changed everything. Christmas fell out. They didn't touch Christmas for a long time. And then all of a sudden, over the past, I'd say 10 to 20 years, it's big business again, which to me signifies that pop music now is much closer to Tin Pan Alley and music of the 30s and 40s than it is to the rock era of pop music.
Okay, well, develop that a little bit because I'm trying to work
I
that out in my
think the
head.
rock era music was about questioning social norms, about revolution and subversion,
Yeah.
whereas Tin Pan Alley was about reassurance and comfort and romance, boy meets girl, and it's that again. Think about the lyrics of pop music today. Music is very sophisticated now, pop music, in terms of production and technique, but in terms of lyrics, it's almost preschool level simplicity. It's, oh, I went to the club. Oh, girl, you're so fine. Yeah, they're not going for any questioning of cultural norms.
That's very true. Yeah, great deal of repetition. Yeah, call and refrain, that kind of thing. No,
Repetition, primal. They don't want the words to get in the way. I'm not saying these people are stupid, but they're deliberately making things as simple and simplistic as possible.
Yeah.
To not get in the way of the music. And the music is incredibly sophisticated, as I said, but the lyrics are incredibly simple.
Very often, yeah. Okay.
And I think in the Tin Pan Alley era, people like Cole Porter, the Gershwins, Rodgers and Hart, the lyrics were very sophisticated in terms of rhyme and clever wordplay, but the subject matter was never provocative. The subject matter was boy meets girl. It was comforting, and the comforts. Yeah. So I do think that pop music now is much closer to pop music 100 years ago than it is to pop music of 50 years ago.
So the appeal is far simpler to analyse, I suppose. Okay, so a quick question for you. You pointed to the Beatles there, and this is kind of off topic, but kind of I'll bring it back to topic as you know the act, the band that changed everything, and I think most people would agree with that. I certainly think that's the truth. Did they ever do a Christmas song?
They did. They did a song called Christmas. It's a very obscure song.
I was going to say, because I can't think
Christmas
of one.
Time is Here Again. And they did it as, this will show the depth of useless trivia rattling around inside my head.
I was going to say, yeah.
Christmas Time is Here Again. They did it as a single for their fan club around 65 or 66. And you could only get it. I had a vinyl collection called Beatles Rarities when I was a kid.
Right.
And it was things that they never put on an album that were hard. They were rarities. And it was on that. And Ringo Starr actually did a cover of it about 20 years ago. He did a Christmas album where he resurrected that song. There's a reason it stayed obscure. I think they made it up as they were going. It's got a cute little thing, but it's not. I mean, Paul McCartney had a much bigger Christmas song with Wonderful Christmas
Time. Yeah. Okay.
Which also has grown in popularity over the past few. That came out in the 70s, but you hear it when I was really into the Beatles as a teenager. It was a hard thing to track down in the States. I remember scouring used record stores in New York City to find it. But nowadays, it's on every Spotify list.
Yeah, well, no, it is, isn't it? But I mean, I kind of grew up with that because, I'm obviously from Britain, and that was around the same time as, let me think.
Well, it was Wings.
Mud and Slade and Wizard. It was all that kind of.
So maybe it was big in the UK, but now I think globally it's big.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an obscurity for me as a kid when I was getting into the Beatles. But they did do a Christmas song, but it was a one-off. They never did a Christmas album, whereas nowadays an act of their stature on the landscape would have to do a Christmas album.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
But the idea of the Beatles doing a Christmas album is ludicrous because their pop music was so different in its intent than pop music now or in Tin Pan Alley era.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture. No, it doesn't work. Sorry, I just can't see John Lennon on the cover of a Christmas album for some reason. But maybe that's me. Maybe I'm blocking that. I'm not sure. Let's talk about film and streaming and Christmas originals. So this year, Home Alone will be back, of course, as will White Christmas, and I guess things like Holiday Inn, Die Hard, of course, The Holiday. Which I saw on TV the other day. All the classics. Netflix, Hallmark, others release dozens of Christmas movies each year. This year, let me just find, I emailed myself the list last night. I'll just try and bring this up, see if I've got it here. Yeah, here you go. So this is the list 30-odd movies coming out. Lots of these are kind of fairly forgettable Hallmark Channel offerings, okay? Here's a selection, and I've got the full list here, but just a couple of things. Jingle Bell Heist on Netflix. Two strangers team up to rob a London department store is the premise of this particular movie. I'm looking at you. I'm going to try to get around your glances.
I don't know which I hate more, the title or the premise. And I don't know which took less time to come up with.
Oh, I had a feeling it would go poorly, this one. A very Jonas Christmas movie.
No, that I like.
That's going to be a big one this year. It's, as you can imagine, a Jonas Brothers Christmas caper.
That's what they call high concept.
Get the premise of this, though. They're trying to get from London to New York in time for, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
So it's like planes, trains, and automobiles, but they just get on one boat and plane, I guess. It's not too much you can do.
I'm not aware of the modes of transportation, but I'm guessing there's a plane involved.
You really should have done your research.
I know. I couldn't bring myself to go any further. I'm so sorry. A Merry Little Xmas is Alicia Silverstone. She's one half of a recently divorced couple, getting together, final family time. The ex-husband brings a new girlfriend into the fray, so that's going to tug on the heartstrings.
Yeah, certainly.
You're obviously not up for that.
Is a comment even necessary? I think it speaks for itself. Pass. Slide across the choices.
I'm going to one-up myself here because we've got The Family Plan 2, which is the sequel to The Family Plan, which is... have you seen The Family Plan?
I'm drawing a blank here.
No.
It's Netflix. It's holiday. It's probably got Jennifer Garner in it.
It's better than that. It's much better than that. This is basically the story is government assassin, and his past catches up, and it's Mark Wahlberg.
I see. Hijinks ensue. And heartwarming holiday family reunion.
I'm so disappointed, David. As head of media at Middlesex University, you haven't seen The Family Plan and aren't excited by The Family Plan too.
I have to adhere to certain standards.
I know you do. But look, this is the thing. There is, I've got 30, I'm not going to run through the 30-odd other movies that are coming out, but there is a movie explosion every year. It's driven by...
I could make a horrible... The explosion makes me want to make a horrible joke, but we're on the air, so I won't. Okay. There is an explosion of films. And the joke would be appropriate because, most of them... Well, first of all, they're guaranteed that somebody's going to watch some of them because it's the holiday time. They're just going to put on the TV in the background while they're cooking or while a party's going on, and they want something that looks festive going on. Yeah. And so I get that. The rest of the year, nobody will see it, but this will come around again, inevitably. It's not like making a film that's tied in with a certain historical event or historical moment, because it's coming again. That makes it safe investment. But it also means that there's not going to be a lot of thought or passion put into these by anybody involved.
You see, there's a correlation with the way people invest money here. A low-risk investment is generally not the most exciting investment. And
exactly.
I guess a low-risk strategy for films is going to produce a similar result.
That's a great way to put it. And investing in Christmas music or film is a low-risk investment for the entertainment business.
Yeah. Let's look at some of the business figures, look at particularly at the Hallmark Channel model, for example. Now, for anybody that hasn't seen the Hallmark Channel, it's kind of populated with, there's a lot of rom-com stuff on there. It's fairly easily digestible content as a movie channel. At Christmas, at the festive period, it does particularly well. I think it's a fairly is that a way to describe
Hallmark?
It's a reasonable way.
I know the people will take offense, and rightly so, but the general perception is it's for middle-aged women. What they used to call housewives, but of course nobody has the luxury of being a housewife anymore.
Sure.
But they're still targeting that certain market. There's not going to be a die-hard film festival on the Hallmark Channel, let's put it that way, which is seen as a manly film, for instance.
That's a good way of putting it into context. But the thing is, as a business model, it's a highly successful, very, very strategically thought out, joined up thinking TV channel.
It's a media machine. It's
really is.
It's very well thought out, and that's why it's run for as long as it has.
So it's a subscription and streaming model. Subscription. This is
where it began, Hallmark, as greeting cards.
Well, this is the thing, and this is why this is so cleverly done. So Hallmark greeting cards obviously a big thing, all kinds of different cards for different occasions, different times of year. There is merchandise that is linked to that, buy a gift with a card. I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. When you tie in some of the movies that are made with some of the merchandise, there are obvious synergies there. But the subscription model is something like $70 million, $80 million a year from subscribers to Hallmark. So that's a successful model. The advertising model for it is huge, $600 million, $700 million a year. So when you start to put those things together and you look at the content that they create, the average Hallmark Christmas movie costs something like $1 million to $2 million to produce. And in movie terms, that's
they're always very low budget.
Very low budget, and very quick to produce. So shot in one town,
in one take,
high in the mountains, in basically almost like one shot.
They're almost found footage films. Yeah,
exactly. 2-3 weeks to shoot. So when you add all of that together, you've got synergy and you've got dollars. It's an enviable model. In lots of ways.
I wish I'd come up with it first. I don't begrudge them it, but I'm not going to watch any of those films.
They're not the most watchable things, but I guess 70 million odd how many subscribers? 10 million subscribers, I think it is. 12 million subscribers. They can't be wrong, can they?
They're not wrong. No, people want reassurance and comfort. Hallmark produces comfort food, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting comfort food in a film or music, and we could also say that Christmas music is comfort food. It provides the same thing. You talked about the Food Channel showing nothing but comfort food. They're not showing, there's nothing healthy associated with Christmas. No. I mean, my daughter and I made eggnog the other night, because you can't find eggnog in any store here. Eggnog is a U.S. thing, which is probably should stay there, but I love it. So it's wonderful, and the taste of eggnog for me is the taste of Christmas. It's total comfort food, and Hallmark films are visual eggnog, basically.
I like the way you put that.
And they're about as nutritious as eggnog.
I'm slightly confused by eggnog, but I think that's just a cultural variation.
I'm confused by plum pudding, but I get that in other countries have their tastes.
Do we have that still? I don't know.
Marks and Spencer does. I got it last year because I always read about it in Charles Dickens. They always, the Cratchit kids go nuts for the plum pudding. Took one bite. I was like, I don't know what Tim got so hot bothered by.
No, let's get back to the movies.
Okay.
But what formula do you need? What are the things that you need to have to create that kind of home comfort food effect that a movie has at this time of year?
Definitely what you said. Every story in the world should have at its core to work, which is redemption, which is people isolated coming together. And that's the utopian dream of Christmas. And I don't want to say dream again like it can't come true, but that's the utopian vision of Christmas. Mm-hmm. People coming together. Any good story is about people helping each other, not staying in isolation. And that's why I said that the Christmas Carol does that so well. Scrooge is all alone. Scrooge is with everyone at the end.
Yeah.
And it's the charting by looking at his past, present, and future, bringing all the aspects of life together. And any Christmas story should follow that template to some degree. And I think if you start dissecting them, you'll find they all do.
Yeah, okay.
Now, one interesting phenomenon, this is sort of a sidebar, but if we're talking about good business models, I shouldn't give it away for free on the radio, because it's one that I've been thinking about lately, and thinking, why has nobody done this? Even before Dickens, or maybe simultaneously with Dickens' Christmas Carol, there was always a tradition of telling ghost stories at Christmas. Right. And I think it was long before Dickens, and that's why Dickens, when he wrote his story, made it a ghost story.
Yeah.
And I think even the subtitle is A Ghost Story of Christmas. And he kept on writing these Christmas stories that were ghost stories. Other people have followed that tradition, and they set this, even The Woman in Black, which is a very popular ghost story of the past 20, 30 years. If you read the book, it starts with them around the fire on Christmas night, and he retells the story. It's a Christmas ghost story.
Right.
And even in London and in England throughout the 70s, the BBC on Christmas Eve in the wee hours would always show a half-hour ghost story for Christmas. Every Christmas Eve, and it died out, and I don't know why. I don't know why there isn't a Hallmark channel churning out ghost stories throughout the Christmas season, because those I would watch. And I thought of it now when you asked that, what's the formula? You can still have the redemption model in there. You can still have there's something reassuring about being scared by ghosts. It's not like a slasher movie or torture porn or any of those things. A ghost story is the horror movie equivalent of an Agatha Christie mystery. They're cozy, they're reassuring, and there's something that's intrinsically tied to Christmas. And nobody's made an industry out of that yet. And I would like to, which is why I shouldn't be talking about it on the air.
Okay.
But I had to put it out there right now because you're saying, what's in a good ghost story? Traditionally, ghost stories have been identified with it. Dickens took that and then twisted it with the sentiment, not twisted, that sounds negative, but added a twist with the sentiment and the redemption model, which is also tied in the unconquered son. Jesus is the unconquered son, not conquered by death. Rome had the unconquered physical son. It's all there. And so any Hallmark story is going to have that redemption, the unconquered human spirit, born again, starting again.
Yeah. No, okay, so there are a number of different aspects, but it all eventually comes down to, the formula that we see. And I think you can apply that to so many different movies, can't you? To an extent, you can apply that to Home Alone, the biggest grossing movie. A Christmas movie of all time.
And probably the greatest.
Probably, yeah. There's something about that. There's a charm about that film.
We just watched half of Home Alone 2 last night at my daughter's request. She said that's because it's set in Manhattan, New York, and we're going over to New York for Christmas.
Right, okay.
And she just loves it for the setting. But it's the same film. It's just set in New York instead of in the house. But those are great. Those two movies are great movies.
They are great movies. And I don't know, they're perennials, aren't they?
Yeah.
What was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you a little bit about new formats, concert films, live appearances, another thing that we see pop up a great deal at this time of year, I think. Producer Michael, who you know works on this show, is a massive Christina Aguilera fan. So this is a question that
I did not know that.
He has shoehorned into this discussion, but I'm going to use it just to point out that it's his fault. But it's interesting because apparently she's launching a Christmas concert movie. So that's playing in theatres December the 14th and the 21st, so a week apart, I think. Why is it you think that artists are turning holiday sort of content into cinematic experiences? What's the thinking?
Now, offense might be taken in the studio. I thought her career was in a bit of a doldrums, that there wasn't much going on with Christina Aguilera. I hadn't heard that name in a long time.
Well, Michael's not in the room, so say whatever you like.
I thought her career was in the doldrums. I thought that...
so good.
Thank you. I have not heard of her in a long time, and so the cynic in me would think that this is an attempt at career resurrection, like Scrooge's resurrection.
Yeah.
I would always bring it back to that. That she knows that there will be an audience because it's Christmas. It's not Christina Aguilera singing Christina Aguilera's beloved hits, because I don't think there's been a beloved hit in a long time. Now, I could be wrong. She might be very, very active. I really don't pay attention to...
I'm sort of looking over my shoulder because he's going to burst in a moment with
an axe.
Or brandishing a bat or something, with displeasure.
Concert films are very big now. Nobody's going to the movies anymore to see fiction films, as we talked about, I think, last time I was here.
That's right, yeah.
But they do go, those Taylor Swift concert movies have been enormously successful.
Yeah.
That's an event that people will go to a cinema for, as opposed to watching a, old-fashioned 3-act structure.
Is she the spark
actors.
for that, do you think, Taylor Swift? Do you think has that reignited something, the fact that she did that?
The fact that she's a phenomenon, everything she touches turns to gold, it seems.
It does.
Like people just love her. And everything, so she did a movie, released it in movie theaters, and in an age when nobody goes to movie theaters, many, many people did. Would that follow that others would? I don't know. Did she start a trend, or is she a one-off? I would suspect probably she's a one-off.
Well, she's almost at a point where, you mentioned Taylor Swift, you mentioned the name, and there's no longer a person there. It is a phenomenon.
In terms of popularity, it's very similar to the Beatles, I think, were in the 1960s. I wasn't around then, but from what I read about it, they were and that's what they got disgusted by, that nobody was listening to music. It was more a phenomenon than bigger. And again, whatever Taylor Swift has is totally lost on me. I mean, I don't hate her. I don't love her. I'm indifferent. It doesn't do a thing for me. Yeah. But it clearly whips a lot of people into a frenzy. And it is an interesting phenomenon.
Okay. What are the? Let's talk a little bit more about the business for a moment.
Okay.
We've got 10 minutes or so. What do you think How do you see the key revenue streams for Christmas content? Whether it's Christmas merchandise, streaming deals, live events, music royalties. How do you quantify it?
I'm sorry. Could you say the question again? You lost me.
Key,
Which one it is?
revenue streams for Christmas content. We've got this time of year where everything seems to be gold. Whatever you do, and you attach that kind of festive banner to it.
Yeah.
How do you break down the way the music royalties work, merchandise, streaming deals? How do you view the business aspects? Is what I'm asking.
That's a tough question for me to ask. I don't know if I'm privy to how the royalties are broken down. I just know that I'm sort of stumped by it myself. I know that musicians simply don't get wealthy the way they once did. If they're, however. That's the common wisdom, and yet I read, and you tell me how rich Mariah Carey's getting. Is it simply because she wrote the song? I don't know. I know that she probably would be even more wealthy if people were buying CDs. However, I wonder if that's true, because once you bought a CD or a vinyl, you had it, and you had it for life, and you didn't have to invest in that anymore. Now you keep streaming. So every time you listen to it, in a way, because you keep subscribing to Spotify, you keep on paying for it.
Yeah. It depends on the deal you negotiate with Spotify as well. The deal that you negotiate.
No,
with
as a consumer, I'm talking about.
Oh, as a consumer.
Yes,
okay.
of course, you're right. And Mariah Carey's in a position where she can negotiate a good deal, where she's going to make money out of it, whereas up-and-coming musicians cannot.
Yeah. Okay. Are we at saturation point with traditional media is another question. Something for you to kind of ruminate on, I think, a little bit. Will holiday content continue to grow in the traditional means that we're used to? The movies, the songs, the dramas, the Hallmark Channel movies? Or do you think we're going to start to see something else? Perhaps the microdrama phenomenon, for example, which is something that we're starting to see. Short form, vertical, episodic content pieces that last for a month or so, minute or two an episode, subscription model that if you want the next one, you have to pay a couple of dirhams. Can you see that working?
People have been talking about that since I've been in the business, the past 20, 30 years. People have been searching for that elusive gold of the short form content.
Starting to see that.
I think
Korea and China.
The technology simply wasn't there before. The ideas were always there, and the technology wasn't, that people weren't responding to it. I think as the technology's there will be an audience. You said it's starting to work in Korea and China.
We're starting to see it work there.
I think, yes, it will happen. Stories are always going to evolve in terms of the formats and the presentation. So, they say attention spans are getting shorter. I'm not so sure that. You brought this up after we talked last time. Podcasts, I believe it was you who brought it up, or maybe somebody else brought it up to me. But
it's probably me rattling on a little bit.
Or just the voices in my head. Somebody brought it up somewhere that said that the common complaint that nobody's going to the movies is because all the kids don't have attention spans because all they watch is TikTok videos, blah, blah, blah. But then you look at the audience for podcasts, where you have 3 hours of two guys sitting in a room talking, and there are massive audiences for that. For Joe Rogan, massive audience. So people don't have a shorter attention span. You just have to deliver interesting content. And that's what people aren't doing in certain forms. If they deliver good content in those short forms, yes, they'll show up. Interesting content. I think, to get back to your original question of would there be saturation for Christmas product? No, because Christmas isn't going anywhere. Christmas is going every year. We're going to do it. And every year it's going to be some kids first. Every year people are going to be nostalgic for last year's. They're going to want some of the stuff they watched before. They're going to want to watch new stuff. There will be more of a junkyard of forgotten Christmas products out there in the ether somewhere than there used to be. But there's not going to be any saturation point for that market.
Okay, let's just finish off with a couple of questions, and I'm going to ask you for a couple of favourites of yours as well. But you're, obviously a professor. You're at Middlesex University, and let's think about the students, the people that you talk to every day. What should young creators or media students understand about seasonal content? Well, what do you tell your students?
Oh, well, I would tell them that. What I tell them about any other content, it always comes back to the story. And it always comes, first of all, I would preface it by saying exactly what we just said, that there's always going to be a demand for this particular content. I truly believe there will never be a saturation point for Christmas product, because it's going to come around again in 11 months after everyone gets sick of it, and they won't be sick of it anymore. And there's few target markets like that out there in the landscape, in the media landscape. So it's not a bad idea to think about Christmas product. Probably everybody's got one good Christmas story in them. Dickens, to come back to him again, had one that everybody remembers. The rest were popular in the day, and they're completely forgotten. They're part of that junk yard of old Christmas product too. Right. Mariah Carey has the one Christmas song. So if you get that one, it's gold. And then if you're making up a story, then it's got to come back to those essential elements that we talked about. What the holiday's about, which is about redemption and renewal.
Okay. Final question for you. Dr. David Tully, head of media at Middlesex University. Your favorite festive Christmas Yuletide song?
Oh, my favorite Christmas song. Oh.
And it's it's generally, and I'm not trying to point you in any direction here, because I'm not going to try and sway I'm not going to try and influence you in any way. It's generally the first one that pops in your mind, I find.
Okay, well then it's the Pogues, Fairy Tale in New York. Yeah, that was the first one that popped in my head, but we already talked about it, so I wanted to bring you something new.
Don't worry, you can be as hackneyed as you like. I'm happy with that. But it's a great song.
Yeah, and I think the greatest Christmas movie is the Albert Finney Scrooge, which used to be on every year, several times a year when I was a kid, because it's just such a weird, creepy vibe to it, even though it's a musical. Okay. And Albert Finney singing his heart out, which you don't see very often.
Oh, that's really interesting. Final question for you is this, and I think you hopefully you're going to put paid to any speculation on this. Die Hard, Christmas movie or not?
Christmas movie, absolutely. It's as Christmassy as eggnog.
I'm like high-fiving you metaphorically here.
If only we could reach, we'd do it.
He got it right.
Afterwards.
Well done. Look, I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for coming
Me
back
too.
in. Dr. David Tully from Middlesex University. He's head of media there. I appreciate it. And
thanks so much.
All the best for the festive season. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
This is Mira Business FM.